Good evening and welcome to another episode of A Journey in Boots from Trauma to Triumph. I am your co-host, Dorothy Odell from Unstoppable Overcomers Productions. We are a full-service production agency here to service you. And over here, we have the amazing Dr. J. Jay, tell a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm, hanging out in lovely Lakeland, Florida. In the last 3 days, we've actually got rain, which is crazy. So if you hear that, I apologize, but it's desperately needed. I'm Dr. Royster, and I'm president, CEO of Semper Modus LLC. We are a bunch of practitioners that have come together to provide services for those who served because we serve. And, So, Dorothy, go ahead and introduce our guest today.
All right. So we'll bring him to the stage while we, talk about him here because why not? We don't want to talk behind his back. So welcome Adam to the show. Adam is the operations director of the Virginia Law Enforcement Assistance Program. That's a lot to say. VALEAP in quotations, a licensed resident in counseling for Rivers of Hope Counseling and an auxiliary police officer for the Saltville, Virginia Police Department. Adam began his career as a detention officer for the Southwest Virginia Regional Jail Authority and served as a Virginia State Trooper for 7.5 years, where his experience and exposure to traumatic events led him to the Post-Critical Incident Seminar as hosted by VALEAP. His experience at PCIS began his journey toward healing and recovery, which ignited a passion for mental health and critical incident stress management. Adam aims to serve first responders through education and mental health services to combat the stigma surrounding mental health and promote optimal health and wellness. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you for having me.
So PCIS, I know Matt Walsh. I met him last weekend. I presented the same place he presented. That's awesome.
Wow. That's great.
I did not know he knew you. That's so cool.
Yeah. We run into all kinds of wonderful people in this line of work.
Yeah, obviously. It's epic. Mm-hmm. So let's start with where you were.
Where I was in terms of before
how'd you
recovery,
get started
right?
in service, like police? How'd you get started there?
Well, it kind of goes along with the similar story of you see something on TV or something horrible happens in the world and you're a kid and you think, man, I really want to be a part of fixing this problem, right? I want to be a part of, just like when the Twin Towers got hit. A lot of folks said, I'm joining the military right now because it's time. I want to be that person. Well, my story's similar to that. And I was in a 5th grade classroom at teeny tiny little Sugar Grove combined school. If you're unfamiliar with Sugar Grove, don't worry about it. There's only about 700 people in the entire community. But wonderful place. And I'm sitting in the 5th grade classroom while my classmates were out on recess. I had broken my arm playing football, and the teacher had the TV on, and I was probably working on nothing because I was a horrible student. And that is when Twin Towers got hit. And you just see all of these police officers run measure, and seeing that bravery and ultimately gave me the passion to become a law enforcement officer.
All the way back to 5th grade, huh? So all through high school, you knew you were going to serve as a police officer. We have some delays here, Dorothy.
Yeah, I have a storm on my end. You have a storm on your end. So this could be a little bit delayed here, guys. You just have to bear with us.
Yeah.
Are you there, Adam?
Hello. See, everything is a song.
I'm here.
You're all right. Cool.
So we asked you, like, since 5th grade, you knew that you were going to be a police officer. So did you train for that? Did you know exactly what district you were going to go to? Did you have an idea of what the plan was?
No, I mean, just as I kept on going through school, In high school is when I really, you're trying to figure out who you are, right? At that stage of development,
Oh yeah.
few of us wanted to be one thing in the state group. And so when I graduated high school, I went to Liberty University, got got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and the Virginia State Police. Started my career with the state police in Rockbridge County. If you're familiar with where Lexington, Buena Vista, Virginia Military Institute. Started my career there, was there for about 3.5 years, and then transferred back home to the booming metropolis of Smith County, where I served an additional about 3.5 years before taking the VALEAP decision.
All right. This is going to be challenging, but this is what life is.
Yes. And you're the
This is
media
what life
lady,
is.
so I rely on you because
I can't do nothing with internet.
what? You can't?
I can't. I'm not.
Where's that
I
magic
can't
wand?
do anything.
It's hanging up there somewhere.
All right. There.
I don't know what you heard, but it was a really good story.
We heard VMI.
Oh, okay. So we left off at VMI. I was saying I started my career with the state police in Rockbridge County, was there for about 3.5 years, and then transferred back home to the booming metropolis of Smith County, where I served an additional, 3.5 years before taking the VALEAP job.
Smith County is really tiny.
Well, don't tell that to the 29,000 people that live here.
Well, I
It is
mean,
a
I'm in
very small
Lakeland,
place.
Florida. Like, we have millions, so I can call it small if I want to. But hey,
And tell
it's
Jack Gillen
amazing.
hello while you're down there.
Do who? What?
Tell Jack Gillen hello while you're down there.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
He serves at most post-critical incident seminars around the country every year, including ours.
Oh, okay. I'll probably run into him then.
Probably.
Yeah, because we do swim around them same circles. All right. So you decided to become an officer, and then what happened?
Well, the typical story of you immediately learn what you signed up for, right? Prior to going to Rockbridge County, it's important to note that at the time, VSP, it wasn't just you go to the academy and boom, you become a trooper. When I went through, you had to go through what was called a probate phase first. So they send you to the academy for a few weeks. You learn basic driving, firearms, defensive tactics, stuff like that. They put you on an 8-week probate phase in the county, wherever it is that you're at. And on my first day, my FTO was taking me home. Excuse me, because we were 30 minutes to the end of shift. And dispatch comes across the radio and says, we have a plane crash in Saltville. And it was a little twin engine Cessna, 2 occupants on board, 2 fatalities. Excuse me. And that was, first day on the job. And it was welcome. This is the real deal. This is what you signed up for. And so after that, go back to the academy, head off to Rockbridge County, and between the year, it's probably midway through 2016 up until about early 2018. We all have, a lot of us officers say we are poo-poo magnets. I say poo-poo magnets because I don't want to be rude and cuss on the platform. But it seemed as though whatever horrible thing was going to happen, it was going to happen when I was working, and I was going to be the closest one to it. And there was about a year to a year and a half stretch of where I worked. I don't even remember how many fatal crashes, several of them involving children. I was involved in an ambush situation with some local deputies. I had a lot of personal stuff going on, some traumatic situations with some family members that I was 2.5 hours away from and couldn't help. So all this stuff just kind of started to compile, right? Just one thing right after the other. And then one day I respond to a call that's supposed to be routine, right? And it turned into a second-degree murder case involving a 2-month-old child. And I was right there with her when she took her last breath and left this earth. She was killed at the hands of her father. So a lot of different emotions, a lot of, worldview challenges, a lot of things that the academy can't prepare you for.
Right.
You know what you're getting into. You don't become a police officer without knowing the risks, knowing the things that you're possibly going to be exposed to. But it's difficult in the academy without the proper, pre-incident education to know how this is going to be impacted by whatever it is that you experience. So that call, on top of everything else, it broke me. Started impacting my daily functioning. I stopped taking care of myself. I used to be a gym rat, in the gym every day, would eat healthy, and I stopped doing that. I stopped going to lunch with my shift partners. I would go home and eat. Began kind of isolating myself away from everybody. Developed an alcohol dependency to help numb those things. And it really got to a point to where I didn't want to deal with it anymore. There were constant triggers everywhere. I go to the grocery store and I see a child. I open the mailbox and see a St. Jude's card, throw a dart and pick something, right? And it got to the point to where, luckily, my shift partners, a couple of them, one of which was on the state police critical incident stress management team, him, along with a couple supervisors, started noticing Adam's not okay, right? I started getting complaints from folks that I would deal with on the street, and I never got complaints. I was a squared away unit. And one day I was called into a supervisor's office, and he asked, "Are you okay?" Of course, my answer was, "I'm fine." And I won't say what the acronym FINE stands for.
Oh, you have to. I was just going to ask you to do that. Please do that.
We'll say effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Yes.
Right? And I was all of those things. I was everything but fine. And
say that one more time, because you faded out at the E.
Oh, I'm sorry. Effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, I figured you would be. That's why I asked you to repeat it.
Yeah. So fortunately, because the people around me were paying attention and they noticed that I was not okay, they sent one of my supervisors at the time, pulled me in the office and said, "I'm going to send you to a post-critical incident seminar." And I said, "What in the hell's that?" He said, "That's a place where cops go to talk about their feelings." Cool. Not going to that. Thanks. What's next? What other training you got for me? And it was one of those, not necessarily threatening my job type thing, but it was, you need to go to this. And I had no clue what it was, had no idea what it was about. And I'll get into kind of the nuts and bolts of it here in a minute. But anyway, I go to this seminar, and, you walk in the door and you're surrounded by cops. And there were some dispatchers there, other first responders. And on the first day, you're sitting around this big circle and you're asked to tell your story. And we're all like, "No, not doing that." Telling my story. And all of us at the table are surrounded by other law enforcement officers, dispatchers, other peers that have been through the program that were on that recovery side of things. They've already ridden this train. And my experience at PCIS was so profound. I walked in the door thinking that I lived on an island. And as I sat at that table, I was still living on that island, but I turned around and there was a lot of other people on that same island with me. They understood what I was going through.
They wore your boots.
Absolutely.
That's why we do this podcast.
Yep. And it truly, I can sit here today confidently saying that had I not attended that seminar, I don't know who you'd be talking to today, but it wouldn't be me.
Right.
Yeah. It was absolutely remarkable.
So how did you shift from that to starting to work toward serving others in the way that you do now?
So being at that seminar and and I'm sure we'll get into the details of all the things that are included there, but you get the proven methods of peer support, right? The people that have walked the same beat, they get it, they speak your language, but you also got clinical modalities as well. You receive EMDR therapy at PCIS. You get a medical massage at PCIS. You get acupuncture detoxification at PCIS. You get courses on understanding trauma, coping and resiliency, man's search for meaning, all these, just this holistic reset, right? And I left PCIS not hurting. And I hadn't felt that in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got home and I was like, man, how did these people do this to me? Because I was a brick wall, man. I wasn't going to talk about my emotions. I didn't believe in all this, psychobabble nonsense, right? Until I got home and realized I'm just better. So I got into therapy. I started seeing an EMDR provider regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Started processing through those traumas a little more in depth. And I wanted a piece of that. I wanted to understand how these people helped me the way that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately went to the Western team, the Virginia State Police Western team coordinator for the CISM team, and said, I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of this unit that responds and helps people when stuff hits the fan, right? So they put me on the team. I got trained in critical incident stress management, suicide awareness and prevention, all the basic stuff you have to be trained in, and immediately volunteered with VALEAP. And from that moment on, I have been to every post-critical incident seminar since October of 2018, until this past one, because my son was born and I did not go.
Yeah, we haven't had you on earlier because we were waiting for your child to be born, so we get it.
Yeah, he dictates the world.
Oh, he's adorable.
Yeah, he's just like his old man. What can I say? Don't tell mom. Don't tell mom.
Funny.
But yeah, just it ignited a passion in me to help the next me, to help the next person that was going to be impacted by this stuff and not have a clue what was happening to them, right? Not really understanding what's going on up here, how it affects all the rest of us, all the rest of you, all that good stuff. So that just ignited the passion to get involved in mental health. And from that point, I enrolled in school, pursued a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, became a trainer in critical incident stress management. So at this point, I'm a resident in counseling. I got trained in EMDR, so I'm an EMDR provider. And I'm just in this lifelong pursuit of how do I help these people? And that's where it started.
Awesome. Yeah, somebody who didn't want to go see a therapist is now a therapist. That is awesome. Hey, that's me too, dude. Trust me, I went... I put my therapist through some stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's funny how that works. Well, it's funny. The therapist I had at PCIS and it's a brief, with EMDR, that recent event protocol, it doesn't get into the deep, nuts and bolts of stuff.
Right.
It helps to desensitize that fresh layer, right? And, she sits there and she goes, well, listen, what we're going to do is I'm just going to get you to move your eyes really quickly. Yeah. It's going to help to process things. I'm sitting there going, what did y'all inject this lady with before we walked in here? What is she talking about? And she just looks at me. I'll never forget this. She's a certified first responder provider as well. And she looks at me and she said, I just need you to trust me. And cops don't trust people, right? But for some reason, being at this event surrounded by cops, you felt like you were at home amongst family.
Yeah, you assume she was vetted, so.
Yep, and she absolutely was. And I refer people to her, I'll say on an hourly basis right now. But if it wasn't for her just pushing me, and I'll never forget what she asked me. She said, this thing that happened to you, does it hurt? Well, hell yeah, it hurts. All these things that have happened to me, a lot of other stuff I haven't mentioned on here, all the things that happened to me hurts. She said, what if I told you it doesn't have to? Well, now you've got my attention. And we go through the, hour-long session of EMDR. I walk out of there asking, what in the hell did you just do to me?
Yeah.
And from that point on, it was, I need to know what this is about. I need to be a part of this. And
yeah, Matt said they use accelerated resolution therapy too.
not at Virginia.
No,
we don't.
No, the one in Florida, they use ART.
Okay, yeah. And Florida's pretty fresh. They just got up and running. I think they just had their second one, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
2 years. He's very excited.
Awesome. He's got a lot of work ahead of him, but he knows that.
He's 27 years FDLE. He knows about work, so we're gonna have him on the show later too.
Good
it's
deal.
coming.
Yeah, Virginia. We just had our 31st in Virginia.
Holy cow!
Yeah, we put over 1,200 officers through the program.
That's amazing. I think they do couples though.
We do too.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a couples portion of the program where we have a licensed marriage and family therapist who is not just an LMFT, but it's somebody who understands law enforcement culture.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest, we're not like everybody else. Dr. J, you're prior military. We're not like everybody else.
We have a whole drum over there that doesn't match anybody else's beat. Yes.
Yep. We speak a different language.
Correct.
It just is what it is. And so we bring folks in who are, clinical geniuses, but they understand who we are on a foundational level. And we have about a 2-hour presentation on how this stuff, if left unmitigated, can impact relationships. All the things you think, this coming home and just being angry at everybody and not knowing how to process this stuff and not knowing what to do with your emotions, not being able to explain your emotions, a fear of dumping it on your loved ones. It helps.
Not knowing why. I mean, there's grief or there's guilt with the fact that you don't know why you just dumped on your wife and now you feel like shit and you feel guilty and she didn't deserve it. So now you're consumed not only with your anger, but you're consumed with the guilt of the actions that you just did.
Yep. But then on the flip side of that, those of us who think we can leave it all in the patrol car, leave it all at the station, we don't tell our spouses or our kids or anybody that we don't tell them what's going on.
Right.
But our behaviors, our actions, the things that we say, how our emotions just come pouring out of us, if we're not communicating that in an effective way, they're going to think, oh, it's me. It's something that I did. Why is he mad at me? Why is daddy mad at me?
Right.
And
they internalize your behavior that has nothing to do with them.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so this program helps to see, I know you think you're protecting them. I know that because you are a protector. That is what we do. But keeping the truth from them is not protecting them, right? We teach them effective communicative skills to teach them how to communicate these things without sharing all the gory details. You don't need to go home and tell them about the bodies that you saw or anything like that. It's something as simple as mommy or daddy had a hard day.
Right.
I just need a moment to gather myself, and then we'll go throw a ball or we'll go play house, whatever it is that you want to do. But this program helps couples to see that, A, you're not losing your mind, right? You're married, not this ticking time bomb just because.
And you're not alone.
And you're not alone.
Yeah, I think Brene Brown comes up with something. She's been married a really long time, and she talks about percentages, and she talks about when they come home. You're both nodding because you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Like her and Steve, right? And Brene will come in and be like, I got 10%. And Steve's like, I got 90. We're good. I can carry the night. We won't have these. She doesn't have serious financial conversations when she's at 10%. But I think if couples do that, they kind of do a check-in with each other, and it kind of gauges, it's like, okay, it's not about me. I won't internalize the fact that you only have 10% to give tonight.
Yep.
And I won't ask you what's wrong. And then you bitch at me and call me a nag, right? So like there's this whole dichotomy that's going on when you can just go, I got 10% today.
Yep.
Can I just say that I love the fact that both of you talked about that, because as Adam was talking, I'm like, shit, this is in the civilian marriage too, because my
Yeah,
husband does the
absolutely.
same thing. Like, I'll ask him what's wrong. Nothing. So immediately, I think I did something wrong. I mean, well, he had a crappy day, but he doesn't want to talk about it. And so
But I don't think people understand that it has nothing to do with you.
Yep.
And there's just not enough time in the evening to decompress. I mean, I pulled bullets out of people. I couldn't imagine being married then. You know, that would have been hard. So, you know, but I came home from getting the snot beat out of me at a psych ward. That was challenging, you know, to have to manage a relationship coming home. Like, that was hard. It's like
hard
you
to
can't
come
talk
home
about
and
what
be
you do.
it's hard to come home and be normal when your day was the complete opposite of normal.
It's a setting on a dryer.
Yep.
I'm the most abnormal human you'll ever meet, but I'm the most authentic. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Because I
Well,
am. I'm just kooky, and I know that. But stand in your truth. You know, own it.
Yeah.
Stop trying to be everybody else. That's what's causing you anxiety.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, I'm lucky because I married my dispatcher. So I married the sole person who sent me to half of the horrible shit that happened to me. But it was wonderful because we understood each other. You know, we already spoke that same language that goes a little deeper than the typical, what do you want to eat Saturday? Right? We understood trauma. We'd both been through all these things, and going through this program, we both went through it at different times, but it helped us to build those skills even before we were married, when we were just first dating. And as a result of that, I'll give you an idea, or I'll give you an example.
Epic.
Yeah. Give an example. She and I developed safety plans for each other. Whichever one of us was at work, or if we were both at work at the same time, if something bad happened, we had a code. We would just shoot a quick text, pick up the phone, quick phone call. Hey, something happened. Mine, it was always to do with kids. Didn't matter what it was. And I would just send her a text and say, it's a kid. And she would know to enact the safety plan at that moment. And for me, I would come home at 1 o'clock in the morning when I was supposed to get off at 10. I've been handling, guts and brain matter and everything for the last several hours. And
not to mention the paperwork. See, people don't understand that it's not just the high speed chases and the glamour and the, officer involved shootings. Like, you have to write reports. I think they missed that, because I did too. My best friend's an officer in Newport News, and she's like, dude, I didn't get off work till 4 a.m. And I'm like, why? Your shift ended at 1. And she's like, paperwork palooza. I'm like, all right, I got you.
Yep. It's not always as glamorous as Miami Vice made it out to be.
Right.
But I would come home at 1 o'clock in the morning and go back in the back bedroom where all my police gear was, and I'm getting undressed and decompressing from a shit day, and my fishing gear is laid out.
Oh,
fresh outfit, my fly rod, spinning rod, whatever it is laid out. A little note that says, I know you had a bad day. These are your orders for tomorrow. You're going fishing. I would have a peanut butter and apple butter sandwich waiting for me in the fridge.
I love your wife.
Oh, she's whatever made her didn't make another or anything close to it. She's remarkable.
That's awesome.
Now, for the flip side of it, if she sent me a text with the code, had a bad day, I needed to get McDonald's French fries. I needed to get Reese cups, as many as I could carry, and a big ass Coca-Cola. And I needed to take her to a bookstore with an unlimited line of credit.
She is my favorite human right now.
I freaking love that.
I love her. I want to Instacart all of that right now. It's just audible.
Yeah. And it just taught us.
That's
we learned
awesome.
we learned how to protect each other and how to develop that resiliency as a unit. And
I love that.
Yeah.
She's
awesome.
Writing notes. Do you see that? She's going to create a safety plan.
I wrote down safety plan, and I'm in the process of messaging somebody with a safety plan.
I love that. That's so odd. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're our first therapist on here as well. So it's nice to finally, we've had a lot of people that are experts in different things, and, everybody's served in some capacity. I don't think we've had any civilians on here as of yet, but I love the safety plan idea. That's pretty epic. And I think you need to expand upon that so that our listeners will get an idea of how they can create one of their own, because not everybody has the ability to go through VALEAP, even though, yeah, I've heard about it. I've heard about it from Chris, and I've heard about it from Raul and Doug, and everybody. I met everybody, down in a couple times. I've been on their podcast. It's Trauma Behind the Badge, which is a pretty epic podcast too. And I love those guys. And we've had Raul on as well. So Dorothy got to meet him. And so tell us more about this safety plan, how to break this down so that people can duplicate this for themselves, because it is a pretty exceptional idea.
Well, it really comes down to understanding that we're all unique. We all have unique needs, right? And not everybody has the bandwidth, you alluded to it a moment ago, to come home and decompress all of this stuff.
Yes.
We also don't know that our partner has the bandwidth to be able to process that with us, right? And we all have our own ways that we deal with and handle stuff.
Especially if you're a law enforcement officer's wife and you got 3 kids, it's the end of the day. You want your husband home to take the edge off because you've been with kids all day. It's summer. I'm exhausted. Food's on the table. Like now he has to shift, or she has to shift driving home. They have a 15-minute drive. It's not enough time to decompress your day. There's a lot of the times where I'm so overstimulated, I don't even have the radio on if I'm riding somewhere. And they come in the door and then everything is at them. Mommy, daddy, I did this. Let's go sit down and eat. And she's got to clean everything up, or, he does. And it's just on with the evening, but there's nothing to wrap your mind around the events that occurred throughout the day.
Right. And it's really hard, especially because for some of us who are not ready to have that conversation yet, like this just happened. I have to burn my clothes.
Yeah.
I'm still wearing this event, right?
Yes.
And you come home and it's, well, tell me what happened. What's going on? What's going through your mind, right? But if you communicate ahead of time what you need, right? What you need to, we'll say, get through this or overcome it, because that takes time. But what do you need in the initial stage to begin that process? And for me, that's why it was fishing for me. When I go through something like that, I need to be with nature. I need to be miles away from the closest human being, right? I need nicotine of some kind, right? I need a peanut butter and apple butter sandwich. And that goes the same for her. We identified her needs. She identified my needs. We don't even have to say a word. We've already started communicating without saying a word, because the safety plan's enacted. I'm going to take care of your immediate needs now. And when you're ready to decompress and you're ready to have these conversations, your bandwidth is going to be back up to speed. And by that point, I might be ready, because not everybody's ready for the Pulp Fiction version to be dumped on you right when you get home, right? Sometimes we need a day or two buffer, and then we get the Disney version.
The Royale with cheese, yeah.
Yep.
I love that.
I know. That's awesome. I think the big thing for them is to realize, especially the safe word, because most people think of safe words, they think BDSM and safe sex, and so when you said that safe word,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He said safety plan.
I'm a certified sex therapist, so I go there.
He said safety plan, not safe word.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But safety plan, I mean, can have a safe word.
We're not talking about like banana cream pie or any kind of stuff like that. No.
It's funny. Right. The J went the other way.
Dorothy,
I just read a book with that.
Go to urbandictionary.com.
No, don't do that. Nope. No.
I'm kidding.
Don't try to translate. I don't even know if that's a real thing, but it's probably something horrible.
Upside down pineapple is. But anyway, my point is you can have.
You've been in Florida too long. That's what's.
I know, right? I know, because the villages are down the road. It's a thing. Look it up.
They do have a good Johnny Rockets, though, I will say.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We have good food. Lots. The seafood down here is amazing.
And lots of gold shoes and different topic.
Goat shoes. Okay, so I love the fact that, wait, I got to go back a little bit because I love the fact that you use the acronym FINE. Just like I know in the veteran world, noted does not really mean I got it. So I know now fine what fine really means. So I love that this came out because now I can use that and nobody.
Well, noted in the veteran world does not mean they agree. It means they acknowledge that of what you said.
Or it also means this too.
Right.
Yeah.
Noted. Like, I'm done with this conversation.
Exactly.
Noted. Yeah. Yeah. Very much so.
That's like bless your heart in most cases don't necessarily mean bless your heart.
I think that went out Dorothy's nose. Oh, well, Dorothy's from Canada, so she's definitely getting exposed to all kinds of culture down here.
Everything that you just said, I read in a book in the last couple of days, like the BPSM thing and the note. But bless your heart.
What book are you reading that has all that in it?
Don't worry about it. I'll tell you after.
Did 50 Shades of Grey make it to Canada?
Okay.
That'll happen.
There's rules to that, Dorothy. Go slow. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't say I did it. I just said I read about it.
I don't care if you did.
Jesus, okay, my mother-in-law might listen to the show. That's enough.
Your parents listen to the show?
I have no idea.
You poor parents. Your poor parents. I feel bad.
Wow.
Anyway, Adam's like, am I supposed to be here? So what kind of
Well, I'm
do you
along for the ride.
just police officers? What's your plan? Where are you going?
Well, so like right now, VALEAP is my full-time. That is, I probably should have mentioned before. Once I was on that side of it, I won't say that I was recovered. You know, it's a lifelong process, right? Of always figuring out how to overcome these things and better yourself. And it's a lifelong learning journey. And in 2021, the Virginia Law Enforcement Assistance Program, who hosts, or VALEAP, who hosts the Post-Critical Incident Seminar, was in search of an operations director. And put in for the job, interviewed, and was called early 2022, and they advised me that the job was mine. And I've been the operations director ever since. I've been with Rivers of Hope since October of last year. So my goal moving forward is to, through VALEAP, to keep getting people to the table, to keep to reach every police officer and communications officer out there and let them know, again, you may be on that island, but we got a whole ass population of people over here on that island with you. So come see us. We'll get you taken care of. In terms of the therapy world, I am still a resident. So the first goal there is to get fully licensed, which is a nightmare, as Dr. J knows.
I'll help you with your hours. All you got to do is text me.
I'm running out of hours. I got a full-time job, a part-time job. I'm working on a PhD. I have a 7-week-old child. I'm writing a book that I can't. My plate is full. Ain't got nothing left. But I don't only see first responders. That is, of course, my preferred population. But
no, that's all I'd give you.
Well, well, my specialty is trauma, right? If you've got trauma, come on, I got you. So I see.
Is EMDR the only intervention you use, or do you have other skills in your sandbag?
No. I'm not the kind of provider who we're going to do CBT and that's all we're doing, or we're going to do. I utilize whatever modality best suits the client where they currently are. So, if I've got today, for example, saw several clients, probably used 7 or 8 different modalities out there. If solution focused best fits what you're dealing with, we're doing solution focused. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I use it in conjunction, right?
Oh, so yeah. You have to be integrative.
Oh, absolutely.
I think there's 8 billion people on the planet, and if you need to bounce up and down on a unicorn, let's go. Yep. Just don't hurt yourself.
Yep. So, to better answer your question, especially when it's to do with trauma, and EMDR can be used for several different other diagnoses, but
yes,
especially when trauma walks in the door, I look at every single person through the EMDR lens first, right? How may EMDR benefit this person? We figure out the treatment plan. Now, what components of CBT can I introduce in conjunction to this?
Mm-hmm.
Same solution focused, whatever, just cater to the needs of the client. So I don't only do EMDR, but I will say I do a lot of EMDR, as much as I can get away with.
That's awesome. What works for them is what matters. Like, I don't know. I've been pretty blessed to get trained in a whole bunch of stuff because I was trying to heal myself.
Right.
So EMDR is one of the ones. I actually, I had a relative who was really, really, really struggling, and I'm like, I can't see you. That's not a thing. So I sent them to an EMDR certified therapist, and they're thriving, which is awesome because it gives them a different perspective on things, and they're definitely doing a lot better than they were. They were in a really bad position, and so like you're right, you have to, but I think being integrative is the best way to do things, is to get certified in many different modalities. I tell my supervisees that all the time. It's like, okay, we're going to start with CBT. You're going to get comfortable with it, and then we'll move on to something else. One of my supervisees is a specialist in grief and loss, and she's awesome. But she doesn't have, she's a resident, so she's not certified in anything just yet, right? So, let's start there. Then let's look at Gestalt and see if that's something that might interest you as far as certification. And I think that's really important, to have a whole bunch in your Santa bag. I've been doing this for a decade. So for me, it's like, ooh, bright and shiny. And then I take the certification and I'm like, that sucks. Okay, on to the next, Well, because some of it is just people are trying to push their own agenda as opposed to truly be there for the right reasons.
Yep.
I'm sure you can throw in all different kinds of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why, when I finished my bachelor's degree, I said, never again. I'm never picking up a textbook for the rest of my life. This was pure hell. I'm not doing it. Yeah. And then after I went through what I did, found this wonderful thing called healing.
Yeah.
I'll go back to school. And as I was working on finishing up my master's, this was just last August. And I remember I looked right at my wife. I said, I'm never doing this again. Not a chance. A month later, I'm in a PhD program working on trauma-informed care because...
Surprise!
Yeah, surprise. I don't consider myself an academic. I consider myself an overly passionate person about helping people.
Same.
And the reason I wanted to pursue trauma-informed care is so that I can stay up to date on the latest trends, the most current research, so that some of the stuff we're using today might be completely obsolete in 11 years.
Correct.
Right.
So prolonged exposure is a perfect example of that. It is the most studied therapeutic intervention to date, but it's also the least successful because it's the most studied. But also the gauge is 12 sessions. Nobody does 12 sessions anymore.
Nope.
Everybody wants to orgasm and move on. Like they don't want to sit in it.
Like with the EMDR, you don't have to sit here for 12 sessions.
Correct.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do.
It depends on how complex it is.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you have a series of things, like I got diagnosed with CPTSD in like 2011. And she basically said, look, you'll never heal. And I went, hold my beer. Because I was going to find a way, because I wasn't living like that. I refused.
Yep.
But I tried everything. And I think
that's why I love EMDR. Is a lot of clients I get, they've seen several therapists. They've been through the gambit, right? They've had the 12 months of CBT. They've done all these different things. Notice I said 12 months of CBT.
Yes.
They've done all these things. And they come to me, and I've had clients literally say, what the hell are you going to do for me? I've seen 10 of you. What are you going to do? We introduce EMDR, explain it to them. But following the explanation, because you have to be clinical, and you have to explain to them, here's all the psychological nuts and bolts of what's going to happen and adaptive information processing and all that stuff. But then you give a personal testimony and you say, here's what I went through. This is what EMDR did for me. And I didn't have to be in therapy for 3 years. Now, granted, I had a lot of isolated things, more so than, a horrible history of childhood abuse where it's just stacked on top, on top, on top. And it wasn't as complex. But I see clients who recover from things that 3 years ago I would have told you it's impossible, and they recover from it in just record time. And
yep, there are different, like ART is even faster than EMDR, and it's. But what's interesting to me is RTM, EMDR, and ART were all created by individuals who trained NLP together. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know that.
I'd read a little bit about that, but I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I don't even know honestly who developed ART. Shapiro developed ART?
Yeah, she was out. Yeah, I think so.
I know Francine developed EMDR.
Right. I know they all studied together and they all branched off. And I mean, that's kind of what we do. I created my own modality off of, bits and pieces of things, working with individuals, getting that feedback. That's kind of how modalities are created, therapeutic interventions, whatever works. I have a friend of mine who's a therapist in Orlando, and she created another intervention that uses the number wheel from Dr. Achberg, the guy who created PTSI. Mm-hmm. So it's just like connecting those dots and pieces and figuring out what works best. For you it was EMDR, and a lot of therapists do that, is like they find an intervention that worked effortlessly with them and they live and breathe it. And that's awesome. Well, but I just wondered if there were other things that you used in addition to that.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand that mental health is ever evolving.
Oh, yeah.
And providers have to be ever evolving with it. Modalities have to be ever evolving with it. Like I said earlier,
we get the ones that are just like very interesting and they do things a certain way and, they beat to their own drum, because we all do. And then there's people who are very rigid, who are like, I only do, dialectical behavioral therapy, and I'm an expert in this, and this is all I will do. Or they create a modality and it's the only thing they use. Yeah. So my question to them is this about you or is this about your client? Yep. Because your client might need something else.
Well, and what you're doing, it may serve 100 consecutive people perfectly.
True.
And then that 101st client walks in your door, and let's say that method that you become so proficient in works perfectly, but it doesn't do anything for who's sitting in front of you.
Oh, yeah. Ran into that person.
Well, now what are you going to do?
Because you need a Santa bag. That's what I'm saying.
And if you don't, you're going to be referring to somebody else. At least I hope you're referring to somebody else.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple things I won't touch. And I've been pretty blessed to find those providers that have served that specialize in those things. Like grief and loss. I don't want anything to do with that. Just because I'm not trained in it. Mm-hmm. LGBTQ, I'm not trained in it. It doesn't mean I have anything against anybody. It's just not my forte. And it's not something I'm certified and comfortable in guiding you through, Well,
and that goes along with, right. It goes along with the ACA Code of Ethics,
Right.
If you're not helping this person, if we are not advancing towards goals,
right,
it is now my job to help you find that right person that's going to help you get there. And I think a lot of providers forget that along the way.
Oh, yeah. I think, and I tell people, look, if you're not ready to move the needle and you just want to talk through your stuff, I'm not your girl. I do have a lady for you, though.
Yeah.
It's just not me, because I am very direct and very focused on like getting you to the point of relief. What does that look like? How do you want to get there? And I think some providers are so used to getting that paycheck and they're comfortable in those weekly visits, they don't realize they're actually creating a harmful space for their clients.
Yep. Yep.
Because
I
you're
gotta tell
here
you,
for me to treat you just like a medical doctor.
yep.
Not the same, but like you're
Yep.
here for me to treat you for a condition that I'm diagnosing you with, and you still have it 3 years later. It's a problem. I'm not Freud. We're not doing this.
Well, and you can tell the difference, and I certainly am not throwing shade at anybody. I'm just saying you can tell a major difference between the providers who became providers for a paycheck versus those who became providers because they know how this feels. They understand what trauma is. They understand what, debilitating depression and anxiety is. They understand these things because they've lived it themselves. And they genuinely want to help people.
Yeah, we're the ones that live in rental spaces and our cars aren't paid off.
Right.
Because we just treat people.
Yeah. Everybody likes money.
On the other side of that.
Sure.
Oh.
Everybody likes money, sure. But what I found, and I, of course, obviously not going to share any identifiable things, but I worked with this client who I truly have no idea how they were standing at the end of the day. The things that they have been through, it was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And at the end of our time together, this person's smiling. They're laughing. What was hurting them was no longer hurting them. It's clearly always going to be there, right? They're always going to know that this thing happened, but it wasn't impairing their functioning. It wasn't causing them to want to end their life. And to be able to see that person then go back out into the world, not only better, but with a desire to help other people. You can't give me a dollar sign that's going to give me that feeling. There's no gratification like that, to see people overcome things that they never thought they could. And that's where PCIS is so instrumental in the lives of Virginia's police officers, is because a lot of them come to the table with that feeling of, I'm stuck with this. There's no other side to this, and then they're meet not people like us.
They can heal,
exactly.
And I think that's huge. And I love that you're part of this. And that's why I wanted you on the podcast too, is because I want you to talk about what VALEAP does, because I don't think those programs are replicated like they should be.
Well, so VALEAP, just to give a brief history, VALEAP was born out of tragedy. The April 16th, 2007. Let me get my dates wrong. Y'all can correct me in the comments. When the Virginia Tech mass shooting occurred. Pretty sure it was April 16th, 2007. But when that occurred, peer support existed in Virginia, but it wasn't a priority, right? It wasn't something that all the agencies or, even state maintained departments were really dealing with. And when Virginia Tech happened, one of our founders and our current operations specialist, Kit Cummings, and our two other founders, Tommy McDearris and Alex Evans. Alex and Tommy were pastors and chaplains in Blacksburg when this happened.
Wow.
Kit Cummings was a lieutenant with the Blacksburg, Virginia Police Department. And so when that happened, they didn't know what the hell to do. They had 30-some victims of this thing, and they had thousands of people impacted. But in terms of first responders, you're dealing with hundreds of people that just saw the worst that life could possibly introduce to your face, right? And fortunately, the first of our kind, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Assistance Program, and the second of our kind, North Carolina, they all descended upon Blacksburg, stayed there for a couple of weeks. They provided immediate CISM services with critical incident stress debriefings, one-on-one individual support, diffusings. They set up some respite stations. They did everything they could just to help these folks mitigate the issues they were dealing with right then, because it's just happened, but to help them develop a plan moving forward. And that's how VALEAP was born, is once our founders experienced that, they said, we have to bring this to Virginia now. This needs to be here. So they went down to North Carolina, sat through their first post-critical incident seminar, and their experience was so profound that the tiny little mustard seed began, and we're doing it right now. Come to Virginia, start up VALEAP, and now there's, to my knowledge, there's 15 LEAP programs around the country. The Carolinas, Arkansas, Texas, California, New York. I'm going to obviously leave some people out, Louisiana, all over the place. But VALEAP started the post-critical incident seminar in Virginia in 2008. That's not the only thing that we do, but it is the golden goose of the program. We also respond to any calls in the state of Virginia. Anytime there's a critical incident, a traumatic event, whether it's duty related or in somebody's personal life, we send a team out catered to the needs of whatever agency or whatever group of people's called us. Excuse me. And so we provide critical incident stress management services. We host 3 post-critical incident seminars a year. That number's probably going to be 4 within the next year because the demand for it is so high. And we also do a couples enrichment seminar, which is, Dr. J, were you Army?
Air Force.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Strong program in the Army?
Am I familiar with the what?
The Strong Bond program in the Army?
Oh, yeah.
Did we have another delay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the Strong Bond program in the Army. Yeah. So it's basically our couples enrichment seminar is modeled after that. It is a couples resiliency type of seminar, but ours is catered to law enforcement professionals. And we take them to the beautiful Virginia Beach oceanfront for 3 days. Not a vacation. It is a seminar, but it helps them, just like we discussed before, build that resiliency as a unit, as a family, help them to understand these things. So at VALEAP, and we do a lot of education. We provide critical incident stress management trainings. I'm an instructor in psychological body armor, which is another component of the International Critical Incident Stress Foundation. We live by a philosophy that is a continuum of care, right? We want to be there right when you start this job.
Right.
So let you know this is the crap that might happen. And this is how you might react to it. We want to be there in the immediate need when the bad thing happens. We want to be there for the rest of your career. We want to be there when you retire so that you always have that resource in your back pocket to know you're not alone, to know that there's always going to be somebody that's going to pick up the damn phone and they're going to show up at your doorstep.
So how many people are on VALEAP that are accessible to?
In total, so we've trained to date, we've probably trained around 1,300 or 1,400 peers in the state of Virginia. In terms of people that are really active with VALEAP, we have around 150 peers that at a moment's notice are going to drop what they're doing and they're going to respond. We have a pool of about 50 culturally competent, vetted clinicians who are either
Do you train them?
I train them in CISM so that when they respond out with us to provide the clinical piece for debriefings, they understand.
No, do you train, like in Florida, they train civilians to become certified to treat first responders?
We do. VALEAP does not have the means to do the first responder certification for clinicians. No.
Oh. We get to go shoot stuff with lasers, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Because we go through what an officer goes through. It's pretty epic.
Right. Yeah, we do have several that are first responder certified. But how we do it is, when we're vetting a clinician, because I hate to tell folks this, but just because you have a master's degree and you might be a wonderful clinician, but if you do not understand this culture, you can't work with this culture.
Correct.
It is what it is.
I created a whole private practice around that very ideal. So I get it.
You understand. You're going to leave this therapy session more fine than the officer that walked in to get help. Right. So our folks
worked with special operations individual who's not watching this podcast because he doesn't know about it. But I just had a client today, brand new to me, diagnosed with depression, doesn't have depression. He's got trauma. He worked in special operations, SOCOM, for 25 years. And because he was sad when he transitioned out of the military, they give him medicine that doesn't work. They treat him every week. And I'm just like, Gah! Because all of his symptoms are trauma-based. Every single one.
Yep. And medication, it works for 5 minutes. When the medication's out of your system,
he's still blue.
When the medication's out of your system, problem's still there.
Yep.
Issue's still there. But for our clinicians, they either used to be first responders, they still currently, just like myself, I'm still auxiliary status. I'm still full police powers. They're married to first responders. They were raised by first responders. They know who we are.
Right.
And we have a vetting process with them. And if I'm unsure about them, we'll put them in a mock therapy session. I'll grab somebody like Chris Gallen, who's
he's scary.
As complex a trauma as you can get. Sorry, Chris. But,
I met him I was doing a trip training and he came up and he's like reading through he was just reading through the script and he's like, all right, I like this, and he's just F this and F that, and I'm like, I said, can I have a hug? He's just so adorable, but he's terrifying when you first meet him.
Well, he's the kind of person who, if I need somebody, now I need to do this with Chris, but if I need to know if this clinician can truly work with this population, I'll put him in that mock therapy session. And no offense, Chris, I love you. You are the stepfather to my child. But I'm kidding. He's not, but he is.
Godfather, most definitely.
Godfather.
Yeah. So if you can help this person, even in a mock scenario, if you can display the skills and the traits to help this person, we can use you.
Yeah.
And we're always looking to
all day. Yeah, Chris is, Dorothy, if you don't know, because I want to have Chris on here, and I asked him as soon as we opened this podcast, but he's busy. He's like with his hair on fire. That's who Chris is. But he's also the guy who's drinking the bottle, not just choosing between a bullet and a bottle is me, right? That's usually when I get the phone calls. But Chris, they are actively drinking all of the bottle. Chris has all the resources. He will get you where you need to go. He has called me and these people have been in the hospital and I've done sessions, he is that person. He's just an amazing resource. And he's brilliant. So I'm so looking forward to his mile a minute conversation.
I'll tell you,
it's going to be fun.
I'll often, if something happens, or to give you an idea, we were going through doctor's appointments and stuff with the youngin. I needed somebody to come and fill in for me. I was teaching the CISM basic course, and I needed somebody to come and fill in for me. And so Chris came in right in the middle of the week because I teach the GRIN course. It's kind of the 3-day speedy version. And so I teach the first day, and I'm pretty out there. This is me reeled in for this podcast. I don't want you to get demonetized, so I'm filtering myself.
Be Chris mindful for Roku, yes.
Yeah, be mindful for Roku. I love you, Roku. I got 3 of you upstairs. I've even got the Roku camera. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Chris comes in the second day. I come back the third day. And this student in the course approaches me and says, sir? Yes, ma'am? That guy you had here yesterday. I said, yeah. He's a lot. I said, what do you mean he's a lot? She said, he cusses so much.
And he's intense. I love it.
I can't wait to meet him.
Dude, we did our Newport in CISM, and he came in the room, and it was 10 to 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
And Lieutenant Barefoot always has us. I'm there every CISM, right? And so he pops in, and I'm like, "Hey, Chris, how you doing?" Now, keep in mind, I haven't had too much interaction with him just yet, right? We went to lunch, and there was a whole bunch of people around, and he was telling stories, and I knew all that. But we're in the middle of First Baptist community. And he's just fucking, just on and on and on. And it was wow, we don't care. Okay.
You can edit that in post, Dorothy.
Edit what?
edit all the F-bombs in post.
Oh, I said fudda. I didn't really say it. So
Okay.
it faded out. I was, yeah, I got this.
Well, at least
But,
put the translation in there.
Chris, yeah, I love, VA Leap, and I love what you guys do. And I've seen the transformation, and I've heard about it, and I've sent some people through it. I know that definitely the PCIS in Florida, they've definitely had some couples go through it that it's like legit changed their marriage, changed their life. It's pretty epic. So that's awesome.
Well,
I don't know how they got the resources for the finances. I think they just put it on and they don't charge the clinicians, and they're trying to get CEs. We pay for the CEs, but it's like going through the whole thing, and it's at our expense, and it's in Port St. Lucie, so it's not cheap, but it is a 3-day thing. And I shot all the people. I didn't really care who was safe and who wasn't, because I'm not worried about it. I'm not a police officer. I don't need to keep anybody safe, and it's laser. So anyway, It was fun.
Well,
So
that's
hold on
Go
though.
ahead.
Do they have this program something similar for active duty military?
So yes, Virginia doesn't. I hope that someday we'd be able to do that. Now, South Carolina does have a post-deployment seminar, which is the exact same premise as PCIS, but it's for military folks. I
Hopefully
don't know.
it's better than what the government gives us.
Well, this one comes directly through SC Leap. They put
good.
on
That's good then. All right. That's nice.
They put it on the same way they do PCIS, and they work hand in hand with the National Guard and all that. And that's the only one I'm aware of in the country that does military. But I hope to see a day that every state has post-critical incident seminars for all first responders, not just law enforcement, but also military, because it's life-changing.
I introduced you to Colonel Denise, right? Did I not?
Me?
Yes, Colonel Denise
so.
Thompson. So she's ICIFS. She actually wrote a lot of the CISM curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, big part of that.
I don't know. I meet a lot of people. We probably have met. Sorry, Denise, if we have.
It was an email. It would have been an email, because she's in San Antonio, but she does like the suicide CISM courses and a lot of the advanced courses. Just to let you know, we'll have her on too when she's available. She's a busy woman. She's, she cruises with me on her off time, but most of the time she's District 7 Fire in San Antonio. So she's running the CISM show down there, but she does fly around and do the advanced courses too. Right. Because she
follow up, you mentioned that there's no charge for what you were discussing in Florida.
Yeah.
Virginia's the same way. For the law enforcement folks that come through Virginia PCIS, they don't pay a dime. The lodging, meals, services, everything's taken care of, and they get partial DCJS in-service credits when they come. So they get in-service credit and healing, and it's free.
I'm just thinking, if you guys will, just think about it. If you can get them first responder certified to treat your responders in a program like Matt has, because his wife is a clinician and you're becoming a clinician. So I'm just offering a suggestion. It would make sense.
Yep.
Because, if you really want to vet these clinicians, why not create them?
Fair. VA Leap has a lot of resources, but we are always open to additional resources.
You got more officers than you did therapists, trust me.
By the thousands.
And we have a mental health crisis in this country right now. It's getting worse, not better. So we need all we can get.
Yep. That's a fact.
I'm glad that you're doing this. I don't know what you're going to do with your PhD other than, teach.
Well,
lead the world.
At this point, really, I just want to be informed. I'm never going to be the person to say, "Oh, I know it all." The moment that I feel that way, I need to stop what I'm doing. But
Sundays really, are for learned. I'm just saying, I love CEUs. I never have, for the licenses, you have to have 20 CEUs every year.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that was a Monday.
Right.
You know, because there's just so much out there, and it's so exciting to see what people are creating and what you can learn about. And like, somebody got a certification in mindfulness, and I'm like, what?
Wow.
You're not just mindful? Okay, cool. Like,
So it's a certificate that says "Welcome to the Present." How does that work?
certification in mindfulness. I don't know. I got
Whatever works.
a colleague of mine sent it to me. Just said, just got certified in this, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Oh.
Like, I didn't even know that was available. It's just the courses that are out there. It's like bringing you around to so many different things. And dude, whatever helps you, do it.
Oh yeah.
Just don't
Well,
harm anybody else.
I think it's important to be holistically just well-rounded, right?
Mhm.
And to answer your question in terms of the PhD, I don't know. You know, I want to be involved in research. I want there to be more research on the post-critical incident seminar because the testimonies are wonderful,
Yes.
but we need to be able to provide that
Evidence-based.
quantitative. Yeah, we need to be able to have that quantitative, qualitative. Hey, this is exactly what it's doing. Here are the coefficients that explains it. All that psycho-mathematical mumbo
Is
jumbo.
VALEAP a nonprofit?
Yes, VALEAP is 501c3.
So in order
Wow.
to do that, you need a one page. Okay, one
Yep.
paper, a white paper. That's what's called.
Yep. So
That's
want to be
nonprofit. So you could donate. Let's say somebody wanted to sponsor a first responder couple. Like, what would that cost?
we don't have any kind of set anything. You know, VALEAP is
Doesn't it cost you to put them up, and
it
doesn't
does.
it cost you to create space? Doesn't it cost you to feed them?
It does. And VALEAP does receive generous donations from several different places. Most of them are just individuals looking to help. Some of them are other, you know, family foundations and stuff like that. We are primarily funded through a grant in the Commonwealth of Virginia through the Department of Criminal Justice Services. And that is what helps us to pay for the post-critical incident seminar. And that's why these folks are able to come through for free. So, yes, VALEAP is the delivering agent of these life-changing services. The Commonwealth of Virginia pays for that to happen. So the Commonwealth of Virginia cares about its first responders, and it's via programs like this that they're helping to fund that's making that happen.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So you don't have a dollar for me? Dollar
I
fee?
don't have a dollar for you. I may have a dime. I don't know if I got a whole dollar. I haven't seen a whole dollar in a long time.
I meant a dollar figure.
VALEAP just operates on we're here to help, you know, whatever you want to give. Every dollar that we receive goes to potentially saving somebody's life, potentially goes to saving somebody's marriage, somebody's career. So we take whatever we can get with a smile on our face. And we only have 2 paid employees. Everybody else at VALEAP volunteers their personal time to go out and help people because somebody did it for them.
Paying it forward.
Paying it forward.
That is literally the definition of that. That's amazing. All right, Dorothy, kick in with questions.
All right. So, what is the one thing that most people would not know about you?
Ooh.
Wouldn't know about me?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know. I'm an open book. It's difficult to find something people don't know about me. I love poetry. Long walks on the beach.
Seriously?
Oh, come on.
Not on Virginia Beach.
Not on Virginia Beach. I'm 6.5
That is
hours away from Virginia Beach.
windy.
I'm a long way away from that kind of sand. Don't know.
I think you need to speak to my husband.
That's a tough question. Because again, yeah, I'm an open book. I don't know. That's hard. Ask me another one. I'll come back to that.
All right. What motivates you?
Seeing people heal. You know, this, especially in terms of law enforcement.
The lift and the relief is
Oh,
unprecedented, and you cannot bottle that.
no, you can't. And it's
The
just,
shift in their energy, the shoulders relaxing. It's like that is addictive.
I'll tell you what motivates me. I'll share a story, and I'll leave out all identifiable stuff. But we were at a post-critical incident seminar, and
He's such a therapist.
Sorry.
I love it.
Before, when I would go to PCIS, I was a peer. So, I'm in the room, I'm talking to people, and now as the operations director, most of the time I'm walking around with a clipboard, making sure stuff's flowing how it's supposed to. And I run into a participant who is obviously having a really bad time. You can see it all over her face that this is just not a good moment in time for her. And I hand the clipboard off to somebody else, and I wound up being with this person for about an hour and a half. And Dr. J knows this feeling when somebody they're saying everything non-verbally, but they're not saying what you get what I'm going, what the problem. And, I knew this person needed as much help as I could give them in that moment. And so we talked about everything we could fit into an hour and a half. And I told this person that, just kind of in alignment with Alcoholics Anonymous, they have the one more day. I'm going to stay sober for one more day type thing. I told her, I said, just do me a favor. I want you to make yourself a promise today that I'm going to make it one more day. Tomorrow, make yourself the same promise. Next day, make yourself the same promise, right? It's really difficult to see a month from now being better. It's difficult to see a year from now being better. It's a lot easier to see the next 24 hours. And I'll do that. About 2 weeks later, I get a text message from this person. And they were at the beach and wrote in the sand, one more day.
Oh.
And I took that picture and I started putting it in every presentation that I do. And I was teaching a class. I can't even remember where it was now. And at the end of the class, everybody gets up, shakes hands. Where are we eating? Where are we drinking? What are we, blah, 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 all that stuff. And there's two people still sitting in their chairs. They haven't moved. And both of them, tears in their eyes. You could tell they were each afraid to come and talk to me because, I don't want this person seeing I'm talking to him. And, they both mustered it up. They come up to the front of the class, and both of them, without skipping a beat, said, I needed to see that. Because they saw the picture that just said one more day. And I told this person who wrote that message in the sand when I last saw him in person, somebody needs you. When you meet him, you may never see him again. You may never even meet him, but somebody needs you. One of those people that approached me at the end of that class was battling suicidal thoughts. Because they saw that message, it gave them the courage to get the help that they needed. I'm happy to report everybody's healthy, but I sent a text back to that person and just said, I told you, somebody needed you. And they'll never meet this person because they're 4 states away from them.
Right.
But without ever even laying eyes on this person, she changed their life. That's what motivates me.
I'm over here crying. Shut up. Shut up. I love those stories. I love the stories that they make it through.
So if you're watching this, I'm not going to say your name, obviously, but watching this, you're still saving lives. I just haven't told you about all of them yet.
That's right.
Wow.
Amazing.
Well, that was your best day with VALEAP. What was your best day of being a state trooper?
Best day being a state trooper. Oh my gosh. The memories, the experiences. I'm going to be the sap and say the day I met my wife. Because truly, that was the day I met my wife. Best day as a state trooper. Best day as a state trooper was I was back home in Smith County, and I get a call for a vehicle driving the wrong way on the interstate. And I had remembered seeing earlier on in the day that there was a missing person. I can't remember what it is, a bolo for a missing person out of Rockport, South Carolina. And, obviously you see that and you're like, well, I'm in Marion, Virginia. I'm not going to see that person, So the county above us gets this call. There's a erratic driver all over the place. Nobody can find this person. So I get the call in Smith County, the wrong way on the interstate. Well, you hear wrong way on the interstate, that's instant shit. We got to roll, right? Something's got to happen here. So I head up the interstate. I meet the person coming the wrong way. They're not, I mean, they might be driving 15 miles an hour. And I get my car in front of them just in case they come back out into traffic. And I get out, approach the vehicle, and it is a very elderly gentleman who clearly has no idea where he's at. Jump in the car, throw it in park. His mental state, again, he had no idea where he was at, didn't know what he was doing, was very terrified. He had no form of ID. We had no way of knowing who this person was. It's 3:00 in the morning. So I take him to the hospital, get him evaluated, see how he's doing. And I can't remember how long I was there with him. He spoke not a word of English. So luckily there was a security guard who's now a deputy in Smith County who spoke fluent Spanish, helped me communicate with the gentleman. And I get a phone call from a Rockport, South Carolina police officer saying, is it possible that you have this person with you? And I said, well, they have no form of ID. They can't tell me who they are, that kind of thing. And they said, well, it matches the description of the person that we're missing. I'm like, okay. So I talked to some family members over the phone, get some pictures, determine this is the guy, right? And so we sat with him for hours. I don't know exactly how far Rockport is from Marion, probably, I don't know, 3.5 hours. And to see the looks on the family's faces as they get there and to see his sense of relief. And it was just a beautiful moment. And it's things like that, there's too much negative shit on TV in terms of police. For all you out there that don't really know, it's most of that stuff. There is the bad stuff. There is the things that people do. They make bad decisions. But in most cases, it's seeing people. It's just beautiful moments like that.
Well, it's no different than the lady in the drive-thru who got hot coffee poured on her. Now they have to put labels and warnings on every coffee cup now. It's the same thing. Police do one thing wrong, it gets amplified times 1,000. And that's the only thing that they see. They don't see how many, like 9 out of 10 times you save the person.
Yep.
But the news is reporting the one time.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The things they don't see is the change in the tire for the old lady on the side of the road. What they don't see is the person who's down on their luck and they just need a few dollars for a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
What they don't see is this child who is absolutely terrified for whatever the circumstances may be. And you have the divine opportunity to provide them support and relief, even if it's just 5 minutes out of their entire life. You were a positive influence for that 5 minutes.
Well, you've made me cry more than anybody else, Adam. So thank you.
Sorry.
It's just awesome. It's wonderful to hear how you're building your life around giving that next person one more day.
One more day.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what it's about. So thank you for what you do. I know it's tough. PhD, that dissertation is a monster. Just remember, this is my suggestion, food for thought. The red circles, just change it. Don't fight it, just change it. Whatever they want you to do.
Yeah, I got you.
Because you're going to stress yourself out more and end up calling me. I take your insurance. But anyway, you end up calling me. I have more psychologists on my roster from the VA than any place else. I'm just saying. So they end up calling me. And my point to you is it's just easier. I know you're going to put your blood, sweat, and tears into this paper. But keep in mind, the paper is not the goal.
Yep.
So just do what's asked of you in the style that's asked of you in the way it's asked of you. And just make the corrections and be on your way.
Yep. Listen to the chair.
It's not about Adam.
The golden rule.
It's about the future Dr. B.
Oh, listen. I do not want anybody to call me doctor unless if I tell you to call me doctor, I'd like for you to call me doctor. Right? But
now I'm good.
All the other people just I'm Adam. It's not, I don't ever want to be that person. I just want people to know that I'm here to help you. Period. The rest of the stuff is just things I got to do to make sure I can help you the best way I can.
I'm so going to call him Dr. B from now on.
You can't yet. You've got about,
I
you've got
know.
about 2 more years for that.
I'll see the pictures on Facebook, so I'll know when it happens.
There you go.
It's not a problem.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. You alluded to the fact that you're writing a book. So what's the book about?
The book is about, I want to give too much away on it because we're still in the early stages of it, but I can give you the title of it. The title of it is Don't Forget You. And it's a book that's, there's a lot of psycho babble, mumbo jumbo out there and all this stuff, but it's spoken from a real person. Sure, there's evidence-based, research-based stuff in the book to help you understand certain things, but it's spoken from a layman's individual, right? And I want it to be perceived as a guide for people to discover, protect, and love themselves. That's what the book is about. Because those are the 3 things that just gets so lost. There's all these external factors coming at you, all these life obligations, all these things. Sometimes you lose yourself. Sometimes it's nice to have a little push to rediscovering who you are without trying to be what everybody thinks you should be, try to meet everybody else's expectations, protecting yourself, setting healthy boundaries, kind of getting away from that idea that it's a selfish thing to take care of yourself. But most importantly, to freaking love yourself. The suicide rate in this country is too damn high. The amount of people that think nobody's here for them, the amount of people who beat themselves up every day. I want to help people become confident in themselves again. And to be able to see at the beginning of this life and at the end of this life, you're going to have a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of factors thrown at you. Life comes at you fast. At the end of the day, you got to love yourself. If you truly love yourself, loving other people becomes easy.
Yep.
Life becomes a lot less challenging. And that can also be what people don't know about me is that's coming.
Yeah, that's great.
Whenever I can find the time to write with 2 jobs, school, and a 7-week-old, that he loves to scream. Yeah.
Well, that just means it's a great leadership right from the beginning.
Yeah, that's why Nana's upstairs.
No, I'm just kidding.
Benadryl, yeah. Yeah, that's why Mommy's asleep, Nana's got the baby, and Daddy's doing the podcast.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for, dedicating an hour and a half of your time. I know your time is precious, but I've been trying to get you on here since March.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, little man came out fast, so we had to handle business.
No, it's great. I
love it.
We knew this was coming. So, but I know you have a lot to offer, and I'm really looking forward to, what you're going to do next.
We'll see.
I'm happy to help you create a private practice. So, when you get to there, let me know. As soon as he gets licensed, he's going to have his own private practice. You know this, right? It's coming.
I'm going to plead the fifth on a lot of things. Right now, and I'll tell you, VALEAP, I attribute VALEAP to the reason why I'm still on this planet. And I will push that out to anybody who will hear it for as long as I'm around, regardless as to what I'm doing.
No, I love that. That's amazing.
It's incredible that I'm in a position, because most people will never experience this, that when my phone rings, I have the opportunity to just make shit better.
Yep.
It may not be me doing it, right? I might be pointing you to the direction of somebody else, but that's massive. And
it is.
I will do that as long as my health in this life will let me do it.
Well, you'll be doing it for a long time. So I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for everybody who is watching us. Adam, just stay back a minute when we wrap things up. And again, we want to say thank you to our viewers. Thank you for those that are going to watch the replay. I know we get a lot of people after. All our therapists that are in sessions right now with other people will come back and watch it later. So thank you to them. Saving lives. Well, we're saving a life here. Remember, one more day, guys. One more day.
I love that. That's amazing.
And if you're just tuning in now and you don't know what fine means, go back and listen to this because you really got to find out what that is. So thank you so much, Adam, for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And can't wait to read the book once it's out. And of course, any way we can help you, let us know. And where's the best place people can reach you at?
Best place is head on over to www.valeap.org. See what we got to offer you. I can be found at Rivers of Hope Counseling in Chantilly, Virginia as well. All my contact information there on VALEAP. And if you need something, give me a buzz. I may not be the person to help you, but be for damn certain I'll find who can.
I love that.
Love it. All right, guys. Thanks for all that you do. And we'll see you same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.
Be safe.